How was I supposed to know that Wallace Engels wasn't related to Agnes Engels? The book just held addresses, not family relations. If anything, you should have used your super sleuthing abilities to deduce that the person we were really after was Miss Jewell Engels. I don't know how you would have done that. There's a reason why I said you should have done it, and not me. Look, if you have a wound you need stitched up, or if you need a brief examination done on a victim, then you turn to me. I'm not the one that people should look to when in the middle of a case such as this. Well, luckily Miss Jewell's place of residence is fairly close to Mr. Wallace, so it isn't like we wasted too much time following the wrong thread. So stop being a petulant child and grumbling about something that's already been said and done. One must look on the bright side when we're as deep into this as we are. We made a slight mistake. It happens. It's hardly the end of the world. We're close to the answer, Holmes. We just have to persevere a little longer. And we're here. So, how are we doing this? Do you want me to introduce ourselves, or would you rather do the honors? Alright, if that's what you prefer, then I'll take care of the introductions. Hello, how may I help you? Oh, hello. Is Miss Engels home at the moment? We have a few questions for her. Why, yes, I am in fact she. Who might you be, darlings? My name is Dr. Watson, and this here is Sherlock Holmes. We're here investigating a murder case involving a man by the name of Doctor Goldfire. We were hoping that you were related to his mother, Agnes Engels. I am. Pardon? It's been a long time since anyone mentioned her name. Why don't you two come in? We can sit down and talk about this properly. Do you two care for anything? Tea or something of the sort? As Mr. Holmes says, we're quite fine. Thank you for the offer, however. Alright, well, let me know if either of you change your mind. Ma'am, would you be willing to tell us about your late sister and her family? I understand it might hurt to delve into such matters after this much time has passed, but it would greatly aid in our case. No, I understand. If something evil like murder's gone on, then I need to do my part and tell you all I know. Dr. Goldfire's father, Walter, was one of the most gifted politicians of his time. He would have certainly become Prime Minister had he continued on his way. And Agnes was a good person. The ideal companion for Walter in his political ascension. The family always had doubts on the subject of Agnes's death. Her death seemed troubling and premature to all of us. Troubling? What do you mean by that? It's not that uncommon when someone dies young and in an unexplained way. Of course, that's very true. However, in the case of Agnes's death, it was different. Sure, Dr. Hale concluded it was an accident, but there was a dark side to it which was never cleared up. Why did Walter abandon his career? Move to the countryside with the children? Fire their tutor? The children never managed to adapt. In any case, I never saw them again after my sister's death. Could you tell us more about the children and their tutor? That could help us greatly. I'll try, but you must forgive an old lady's failing memory. I haven't thought about them for a long time. The children seem to appreciate the young man. He stayed with them 2 or 3 years longer than any other tutor. Do you remember his name? It was Attard or Obshard. I'm not quite sure anymore. But I know that after his dismissal, he opened up a bookshop. A final question, ma'am. When was the last time you saw Dr. Goldfire? At Walter's funeral. Good gracious, that must have been over 10 years ago. I've sometimes seen his name in the papers, but I've never tried to renew the relationship. As for William, I don't know what happened to him after his father's death. I see. Thank you for your time, ma'am. You've helped us more than you know. I'm just glad I could help in some way, dearie. Take care of yourselves. We will, ma'am. I hope you have a nice day. That was quite the revelation. Seems things surrounding Agnes's death was far from normal. Moving to the countryside could be attributed to some sort of mechanism to cope with death, but Walter was highly successful in politics. Why leave without a word? Why abandon everything he worked for just to take his children to the countryside and hide, I suppose? But who do we ask now? Miss Engels doesn't remember anything else. The tutor? Well, yes, I suppose the tutor would know what was going on with the Goldfire family. I mean, the man was allowed into the home for many years, but Miss Engels didn't remember the man's name. What did she tell us? She said it was something like Attard or something? We can hardly go off of that alone. I mean, it's probably not even his name. Likely the name got scrambled over time, and all Miss Engels remembers is that the name sort of sounded like that. Oh, right. She did say he opened up a bookstore. But how are we supposed to figure out which bookstore is his? It isn't like we can go into every bookstore in London. You have a list of all of the bookstores in London. Why? Why not is hardly a proper answer. Wait, let me look at your notes. Oh my goodness. You have got to be kidding me! List after list, all the jewellers in London, all of the libraries, post offices, prisons, shoemakers? Are you deluded? Why all of these lists? Of course, I understand that you have to travel many places to solve your mysteries, but isn't it a bit much to have lists of different genres of establishments scattered around London? Well, yes, it is coming in handy now, but I still think it's a ridiculous thing to do. Let's see then. Of course, you have a list of booksellers. There's Gilbert and Field, Hatchards, J&E Bumpus, and finally there's Sotheran and Company. Which one do you think is run by the tutor? Hatchards? Why that one? Oh, right. That name does sound the closest to what Miss Engels said. Can't believe I missed that. Honestly, we're lucky that people tend to name their businesses after themselves. It seems people's egocentric nature can be useful at times. Who would have thought? Of course. We'll head over right away. We can't afford to lose any more time. How quaint. Perhaps after this is all said and done, I'll have to come by to purchase a book.
Ah, hello there. Can I help you find anything today?
Actually, we were hoping we could talk to you about something. Something regarding the Goldfire family. We recently learned that you were a tutor for the Goldfire children.
Oh, well, I'm afraid that was quite a long time ago.
We understand, but it's imperative that you tell us about the Goldfire family and the circumstances surrounding the death of Mrs. Goldfire.
Excuse me. I need to sit down. I don't understand what you're expecting out of me.
Right. Like Mr. Holmes said, we were hired by the doctor to investigate on his behalf. Our questioning has led us to you.
Oh, George was a good boy. But William, William. The death of their mother, you say? Someone's still investigating after all these years. I've always had my suspicions, of course, but I thought all of this was over with.
Anything you tell us would be very valuable.
I'll never forget that morning. William had been throwing one of his raging tantrums. I could hear him shouting and arguing with his mother. Then there was a cry. I ran from the reading room to see the poor woman's broken body at the foot of the stairs. And at the top, William was looking at his mother's body, smiling. I spoke to Sir Walter and let him know of my suspicions. He promised me that he'd take them into account. But the next day he announced that the family were leaving for the countryside and that they would no longer need my services. He was very generous, of course. He gave me enough to purchase this store, in fact. But I've always felt as though he was buying my loyalty, my silence. This is the first time I have spoken to anyone about that horrible, awful day.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Hatchet. I understand it couldn't have been easy to think of such things again.
Yes, you're quite welcome.
We will leave you to your thoughts. No wonder why the Goldfire family fled for the countryside. The father likely wanted to hide William away. He can't hurt anyone if there's no one around to hurt. But after Walter died, the only person left to care for William was Dr. Goldfire. Do you think you have this case solved, Holmes? I knew it. You have that familiar twinkle in your eyes. Well, how shall we go about confronting the culprit? We're returning home. Okay. If you think that's what we should do, then I won't question it. Come along. I'd say it's about time for this case to end.